I am Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the Eye on College Basketball podcast on CBS Sports Network. Matt Norlander is here with me, and we're going to be here with you for the next hour talking college hoops as Week 11 unfolds. And I want to start today with the top-ranked team in the country, that is the Arizona Wildcats. They're 16-0, got all but one first-place vote in the AP poll this week. Norlander, Arizona was 13th in the preseason AP poll, so they were supposed to be good, but they weren't supposed to be this good. What is it exactly that makes Tommy Lloyd's Wildcats the number one ranked team in the country?
Good to be with the GP. Happy to talk some Wildcats ball because I've seen them in person already this season. I saw when they won at UConn earlier this year. I'm going to see them in person later this month when they go out and play BYU. I'm excited to get out there. And this is shaping up right now, midway point of the season, right? Arizona, as a function of Michigan's loss at home, shocking loss at home to Wisconsin, Arizona, I think, has the best claim, the rightful claim to number one status in the country. It's number one in the AP poll, if that makes sense. It's been that way for weeks now as a function of how the AP voting body works. As you well know, it hasn't been number one in advanced analytics, but sitting there at number two ain't too shabby. It's well-rounded on both sides of the ball. Top 5 offense, top 10 defense, tremendous rebounding team, good physicality, reliable from deep. Got some good young talent. Koa Pete, Braden Burries, 2 of the 12 best freshmen, 10 best freshmen in the country play for Arizona this season. And yet that's not their best player. Jaden Bradley's their most valuable player. He's an excellent two-way player. He's a 5-year college vet, and his presence, his maturity, his leadership has also been crucial. They've also, Latavius Krivas, they've got some real size to them as well. They've got reliable physicality with Toby Awaka, who's among the better, just pure rebounders in all of college basketball. So trying to give you a kind of an all-encompassing package of why Arizona is as good as it is. But I also do think that in many ways it flows down from the top of Tommy Lloyd's coaching leadership. His general approach to life, you and I know him very well. He's super competitive and can coach with a chip on his shoulder in the best ways. But you also know, he is a guy who is can be pretty gregarious, really easy to talk to, easy to get along with, coaches his players just as hard as he loves his players. And when you've got the right combination of talent, experience, and a willingness to have the communication kind of flow both ways within that program, that's why I'm not surprised that Arizona is where it is in terms of the overall hierarchy, GP. But then again, as we talked last week on CBS Sports Network, I'm also happen to be the guy who picked Arizona to make the Final Four at the start of the year. So I thought they would be this good. Did I think they'd be 16-0? No, but they are deserving of every bit of praise they've received so far this season. I think they are pacing toward, not guaranteed, but certainly pacing toward having a 1 seed next to their name. And that's something that program, while it doesn't get it every year, is certainly accustomed to getting every so often.
I like that you, after going through the roster, circled back to the head coach, because that is where all of this starts. Tommy has gone from longtime Gonzaga assistant with a bright future to one of the best coaches in the sport very quickly. The Wikipedia page, which is a good place to always go and look up accomplishments and stuff like that. It's already filling up pretty good, even though his head coaching career is still young. And you're right, both of us have known him for a while. He is a not just a big personality, but an interesting personality. Just sort of as you were talking through it, I was thinking, if there's a basketball coach out there that you told me I've got to, spend 5 hours with tonight, and the only thing you can't do is talk about basketball, you guys better figure out another way to get through a night. You're just going to pour drinks and talk. Tommy Lloyd would be either at the top of that list or near the top of that list for me. In fact, as I'm thinking through it, when I text him, it's usually about something that's got nothing to do with basketball, just because we have a lot of mutual interest outside of the sport. So he has been fabulous. And I think the way he has built this team is also worth noting, particularly in this era of the sport. As you know, things have changed dramatically. Revenue sharing, NIL, transfer waivers, and I don't know that everybody has strong opinions about what works in college basketball today and what doesn't work in college basketball today, but a lot of people have strong opinions, and somewhere on the list of strong opinions would be, promise you somebody said this before, you can't win with freshmen anymore. That's not the way to do it. That was fun and games back in the 2010s when John Calipari was loading up five stars and going out and beating everybody's brains in. But that's not the way you build a successful college basketball program today. You can't rely on freshmen at the top of your roster. Okay, well, Arizona's 2 leading scorers are both freshmen. Hey, you got to get into the transfer portal and fill holes. Shaka Smart, God bless him for being loyal to the guys in his program, but you need to get in the transfer portal and supplement your returning players. That's the way to fill holes. Well, you ready for this? Every player in Arizona's rotation is either a freshman or in their second year in the program. There is no instant impact transfer portal guy for the Wildcats. So this team doesn't shoot threes the way people tell you need to shoot threes. They're being led by freshmen, at least in scoring. I accept your position that Jaden Bradley's their most important player, but their 2 leading scorers are both freshmen in a time where people think that's not the best way to do this. And then their entire rotation is guys that are either in their first year in the program because they're freshmen, or they are in their second or third or fourth year in the program. So it's built in an unusual way for the 2025-26 season. I don't think you can find many other basketball teams built this way, but it is built well. And 16-0 and ranked number 1, all but 1 first-place vote in the AP poll on Monday. Let me ask you this real quick. We both agree Arizona should be ranked number 1 right now. That's where they are in the top 25 and 1. That's where they are in the AP poll. Is Arizona your pick to win the Big 12 right now? Or would it be Iowa State or Houston or BYU or somebody else? Because I think 2 things could be true at the same time. I think you can reasonably say Arizona should be ranked number 1 in the country right now, but I don't know if I've actually got them winning the Big 12.
My answer to this, I hadn't actually thought about it until, I like when you throw a curveball at me. I hadn't thought about this. My guess is that the Big 12, when they play the final games in the regular season that Saturday before the league tournaments get going, my guess is that at least 2 teams will share the best record in the Big 12. It's a very competitive conference at the top end of it, and I think that feels like an inevitability with so many viable teams. So with having said that, GP, my prediction here on January 13 is that Arizona will finish at the top of the Big 12 ledger, but it will share that with at least one other team. I don't know if it'll have a standalone first place team, but the resume, just to refresh our listeners and viewers on this, here's what Arizona has done to having the claim to the best resume in college basketball. Not just undefeated, because we've got 4 more unbeaten teams, and guess what? We're going to get to those later in the show, a lot on that stuff. But Arizona opens up the season against reigning champion Florida, wins that game 93-87. It wins in LA over UCLA by 4, 69-65. It goes to UConn, albeit UConn wasn't at full strength, whatever. You're playing at Gamble. I was there. Madhouse gets it done, wins on the road against UConn, one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the country. Defeats Auburn, an Auburn team that's going to make the NCAA tournament and do probably have an up and down season, but a good job in year 1 under Stephen Pearl. Wins at Alabama, or wins in Alabama, technically wasn't at Alabama's gym, GP. Has a win over a quality San Diego State team, and we've seen what it's been able to do once it got into league play. So it's to this point to get to 16-0, super impressive, and it's still got roadies against you. Like the end of this schedule is insane, GP. From February 9 on, I'm going to read this off to you. At Kansas, home to Texas Tech, which could be a top 20 team at that point, and basically is now. Home to BYU, at Houston, at Baylor, home Kansas, home Iowa State, and then at Colorado to close. Wildcats almost certainly are going to find a way to pick up at least 3, if not 4 or 5 league losses, but that's not going to affect what I think about them in the big picture. I still think this team is plenty capable of making a Final Four, and it's just balanced across the board. 5 players average double figures, and then Toby Awaka and Karchenikov are right behind, 9.9 and 8.8 rebounds. And then when you look at the points, and when you look at the rebounds, Pete, Burries, Bradley, Krivas, Awaka, all at 3.5 boards or better. And in Awaka's case, he's at 10.1. They just have tremendous balance as well. I love the team that Tommy Lloyd has built. Mark me down. 18 game schedule, Big 12. Mark me down for 14-4 wins the league, and Arizona will be one of 2 teams that finishes league play at 14-4.
All right, but put a name on it. Who's gonna be co-champs with them?
Oh man, I will go with my preseason national champion pick, Houston, which is 15-1 at this point and has proven it beyond measure. And as I talk, if you are interested, okay, when do these teams play and how many times do they play? Well, it's unfortunately only once, and Houston gets the benefit this year because the Cougars had to go to Tucson last season. Saturday, February 21 will be Arizona at Houston. And man, oh man, that is going to be a big time game. So yeah, mark me down for both those teams at 14-4 in league play and finishing atop the league. And then just behind them, 5 losses for BYU. I don't even feel good about 5 losses for Iowa State now that I say this. It could be 3 14-4 teams. The top end is so good, and that doesn't even get into, Kansas is already behind. That's why it's 1-2. But is Darren Peterson going to get healthy? Like, has Kansas completely lost its typical way at the top of the league? I don't know. We'll see. Texas Tech has 2 borderline All-Americans. Big 12 is awesome, and I can't wait to see what unfolds over the next 2 months.
I mean, this is one of those leagues where you could finish 4th in the Big 12 and then go win the national championship.
Yes. Succinct and accurate. Yes.
Nothing crazy about that. If Arizona doesn't win the Big 12, you start looking at Iowa State, if they can get past this one tonight at Allen Fieldhouse, they got a shot to keep a 0 in the loss column for a while. But I'd lean towards Houston too. Like you said, 15-1, lone loss to Tennessee by 3 points. They just check all the boxes I think you usually need to check to win the national title. A Hall of Fame caliber coach, 2 projected top 20 picks in the NBA draft. They've got experience on the roster. They've got roster continuity. I love Calvin Sampson's team. That's a team that I could see winning the Big 12 and winning the national championship. In my opinion right now, despite where I would have them ranked, right now, by the time we get to March, the biggest threat to Arizona in the Big 12, I believe, will be Calvin Sampson's Houston Cougars. When we come back, I want to turn our attention to the National Coach of the Year race. If we were ranking Coach of the Year candidates, obviously the man we've been talking about for the first 10 minutes of this show, Tommy Lloyd, he would be on the list. He'd be pretty high, but how high? We're going to draft through it. We'll figure it out on our own in real time. It's the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. We're on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast, CBS Sports Network. As we were saying before we went to break, if we were ranking Coach of the Year candidates right now, Arizona's Tommy Lloyd, the man in charge of the number 1 ranked team in the country, would be pretty high on that list. Let's find out how high together. Norlander, here's what I want to do. Let's draft Coach of the Year candidates with alternating picks. You know how it works. You go first. Who's your leading candidate for National Coach of the Year right now? We'll put him at number 1 on the list.
I love a good mid-season draft of sorts, and my pick at the top of the list is also my prediction. I am curious if you would agree with me or if you wouldn't. If the national media was collectively forced to vote on the award right now, which coach would be most likely, as of today, right now, to win the award? I go Fred Hoiberg at Nebraska. I think that he would win, and it would be a very close, compelling race. You're about to find out because there are so many candidates for this award right now at the midway point of the season. Nebraska has 0 NCAA tournament wins as a program. It historically is among the 5, 6, 7 worst high major programs in men's D1, and here we are, 20 wins in a row dating back to last season. Best start in school history, longest active win streak in college basketball, has done it in some thrilling fashion and come from behind fashion, has notched some viable wins to this point. Another piece of context that honestly made me pick a first GP in this one, because I actually do think this matters. Nebraska, at best, in an 18-team Big Ten, at best, is 16th in NIL resources. It's probably not 18. I guess that might be Penn State, but if you told me Nebraska was 17 out of 18 in that league, I'd believe you. Fred Hoiberg doing more with less, more than any other coach in the country.
If I would have picked first, this is who I would have picked. This is the right answer right now. I can make a case, honestly, for any of the 4 coaches in charge of undefeated power conference teams. They're all 16-0 with 5 quadrant 1 wins. I could rank the resumes, but, generically they're pretty similar. 16-0, 5 quadrant one wins. But Fred Hoiberg would be the pick for me right now. Nebraska picked 14th in the preseason Big Ten media poll. And this, of course, is also, and this is going to get said 1 million times between now and Selection Sunday, but this is the only power conference program that's never won a game in the NCAA tournament. They are headed toward fixing that in March because at this point they project as like a 2 seed or a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. And when you get that kind of seed, you sort of set up to advance to win at least one game. So Fred Hoiberg, I agree, that would be number 1. At number 2, this is the way I would pick it at least, Mark Byington at Vanderbilt, 16-0, 5 quadrant one wins. They were picked 11th in the preseason SEC poll, unranked in the preseason, had strong computer numbers that, maybe should have been an indicator that they're going to be better than some humans think. But I don't think anybody had them starting 16-0. Byington's been terrific. He gets the Vandy job in March 2024. Tyler Tanner was already committed to the program, but you know how this stuff works. Coaching changes often lead to decommitments. But Mark was able to get Tyler Tanner, local kid, to stay committed to Vandy and enroll. He was ranked 160th in the class of 2024. Now he's arguably the best player in the SEC. If you were voting SEC Player of the Year right now, it'd probably be Tyler Tanner. So the first big thing Mark Byington did when he got the job is get that young man to enroll, and it's been almost nothing but good things since.
Yeah, no. And if we had reversed this and you had given yourself the first pick, which I would have been fine with, we'd have the same first 2. You would have had Hoiberg if you had number 1. If I was number 2, I would have Byington here. Vanderbilt, folks, if you're watching us live on CBS Sports Network, we appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube after the fact, we appreciate that. Or if you're listening, however you're taking the show, Vandy right now, basically a top 7 team across the board in every predictive metric. Extremely impressive. And as we mentioned on our Sunday Ion College basketball episode, Vandy is on a tier 2 itself right now in the SEC. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed to stay there. Maybe the situation changes in a matter of a week or so. We've got some interesting stuff on that. And we've got more on Vandy to come later on this show. But right now, Vanderbilt is on a tier 2 itself in the SEC, buying to number 2 in the draft and overall hierarchy. I've got pick 3. It is Tommy Lloyd. We spent the first segment talking all about Arizona, so don't need to repeat too much there. But broadly speaking, when you schedule as ambitiously as Lloyd did, you don't lose, period. You get to this point of the season, and you have a case as the best team in the best league. Quite obviously, you're of deserving consideration. So Lloyd was an easy pick for me after you took Byington off the board.
And then let's go ahead and get the other coach of the other Power Conference undefeated team off the board at number 4. I'll go TJ Otzelberger at Iowa State, 16-0, 5 quadrant one wins, including a 23-point victory at Purdue. That remains the most impressive win any team has this season, I think. Ranked 16th in the preseason, now up to number 2. TJ has made 4 straight NCAA tournaments at Iowa State, 2 of the past 4 Sweet 16s. This is probably his best team to date. Could go to a Final Four for the first time since 1944. However big you can dream at Iowa State, you might as well go ahead and do it right now because you've got a team that's good enough to do the whole thing. TJ has done an amazing job. Really has built, I guess it's a little bit sports writery talk here, but has built a program in his image. Genuinely believe that. And Iowa State fans, I go back to when TJ got the job and Steve Prohm took over initially after Fred Hoiberg had the job, and Iowa State had some good teams, and then it just bottomed out entirely. Like Prohm had just he had a bad year and then he had an awful year. They went 2-22 in the COVID mess and all that, and they made the decision to move on. And it was a defensible move, obviously, in the moment, but you wonder, okay, who are you going to get here? Can Iowa State get back to the run that it had between Hoiberg's final 4 years and Prohm's first 4 years? They went to the tournament 7 out of 8 years. And now Otzelberger has changed the calculus entirely for that program. I mean, Iowa State fans are now at the point where we are expecting in an elite league to be a top 4 team every year. We are expecting single-digit seeds in the NCAA tournament every year. And the one thing that has not happened yet and could well happen this season is a deep tournament run. I define a deep tournament run as Elite 8 or better. He made the Sweet 16 twice. Now Iowa State could be a 1 or 2 with that next to its name on Selection Sunday. Wouldn't shock me in the least. Quite obviously, still undefeated.
we'll see if they can get through the next 24 hours or even out of this week undefeated, but he's a firm 4 for me as well. And then number 5, let's go with 5th pick and then maybe hit some others on the other side of the break. I'm not going to let one loss completely color how I would vote here. I would say Dusty May, because what Michigan was doing and has done in terms of win margin, some historic stuff in November and December, and they had the loss to Wisconsin at home, and they had some close call wins at Penn State, TCU, Wake Forest. They have actually had some close ones, but they have had some real dominant ones. And in terms of efficiency margin and win margin, Michigan was outpacing the rest of the country. Now they've come all the way back down. Nevertheless, I take into account how you recruit the portal. Michigan got Yaxel Lendenborg and brought in some key pieces that really helped them. Brought in Trey McKinney, who, as wild as his Flint, Michigan is 30 minutes from Ann Arbor, something like that. Michigan had not recruited a player from Flint to play for them in generations. McKinney immediately as a freshman, he's an impact player. Taking everything into account, for me personally, I would still have Dusty May in the top 5 for National Coach of the Year.
Totally reasonable. Like if we had the same conversation a week ago, he's probably number 1, but you lose to Wisconsin at home, it messes up the order a little bit. So that's 1 through 5. We'll draft 6 through 10 next. But first, let's get a break. You're watching the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. We're on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast on CBS Sports Network. We are drafting National Coach of the Year candidates right now. We've done 1 through 5. Fred Hoiberg, Mark Byington, Tommy Lloyd, TJ Otzelberger, and Dusty May in that order. We're now up to number 6. It is my pick, and I'm going to go with Mark Few at Gonzaga. At a time where it is growing more difficult than ever to maintain any sort of level of success or consistency outside of the traditional power structure, Gonzaga is still Gonzaga. 17-1. The lone losses to that Michigan team that is still number 1 in most of the computers. The Zags have made, as you know, 26 consecutive trips to the NCAA tournament. Number 27 is obviously on the way. And I just think it's important never to take this for granted. As the divide between the haves and have-nots continues to grow, the staff changes can make maintaining success difficult. There are people who thought that program would fall off when Tommy Lloyd left to take over Arizona, and yet here they are, 17-1 through 18 games, ranked in the top 10 again, perhaps on their way to yet another Final Four. And, at this point, you shouldn't take anything off the table for Gonzaga. Mark Few's got, it appears, another national championship contender.
Let's do a trivia time for both of us. Mm-hmm. Okay. I have his Wikipedia page up right now. I have not looked. In any type of national form, how many Coach of the Year awards do we think Mark Few has won in his career? My guess is 3, but it can be the NABC, can be the AP, whatever. How many times do you think Mark Few has won a National Coach of the Year award? I don't know the answer.
I'm going to say he's a 2-time National Coach of the Year.
Here it is. He is a 5-time National Coach of the Year. Now, he won 3 of them in 2017. So he won AP Coach of the Year.
Okay, I meant years. How many different years has he been a National Coach of the Year? I say 2 different years.
You are correct then. He won it in 2016-17. That's what I was saying. And he won it in 2020, 2021. Good on you. I was thinking most, all around total, I had 3. I assumed he would get it in 20. I assumed he would get it in 2020, 2021, because they were number 1 all season, and those votes are going to be turned in before the national championship game. He is a 14-time WCC Coach of the Year, which honestly, Randy Bennett's done an amazing job. 14 still seems too few, pun intended for Mark Few. Regardless, there we go. He's won the regular season of WCC 22 times.
My favorite Coach of the Year thing, based on the way people weirdly vote on this stuff, is that this is a fact. Billy Donovan had 2 national championships before he had any SEC Coach of the Year awards. That's a true thing.
Amazing. It's amazing. Few obviously near the top of the list. Gonzaga not expected to be, by most, a top 15 team coming into the season. Look where they are again. This is the last season in the WCC. Next season, we'll see them in the resuscitated, transmogrified Pac-12. Interested to see how that league shapes up a year from now. My pick at number 7, it's as of right now, because I'm telling you this here and now. I'm going to be in Newark tonight for one of the biggest Seton Hall home games of the past 15 years. I'm picking Dan Hurley of UConn at 7. If Seton Hall defeats UConn tonight, then I'm subbing in Shaheen Holloway in this spot, because Seton Hall was picked last in the Big East, and we know what he's done so far. But I do expect UConn to go on the road and win, although they've lost at Dan Hurley's alma mater like 3-4 times in a row in Jersey. But after what happened last season, where UConn was merely solid, it just wasn't destroying teams. Look how the Huskies have bounced back. Dan Hurley, with the exception of a close home loss to Arizona, has the Huskies rolling, similar to Tommy Lloyd, actually. Scheduled super ambitiously, looked for teams with established, really, really good coaches, established going into the season as going to be Final Four level contenders, and won all of those games in the non-con with the exception of one. So Dan Hurley, who has some Coach of the Year awards to his acclaim as well, is my pick at number 7. Shaheen Holloway pulls off this upset tonight, though. If they turn this into a graphic over at the CBS Sports CBB Instagram page, letting it be known right now, if the Hall wins, we're bumping in Shaheen Holloway after the fact, but I got Hurley right now as it stands here on Tuesday afternoon.
I'm glad you mentioned Shaheen, because I don't think he's going to make our top 10, but he deserves some recognition. If you remember, as NIL became a big influential thing, you would have other Big East coaches like publicly feeling sorry for Shaheen Holloway. They would like beat his overwhelmed team and then say, well, if he had the money I had, he'd be fine. But I mean, he's broke. It's more or less like he's just broke. What do you want him to do? He ain't got no money. And it was like, does he need to leave his alma mater? And there's no scenario where that's ever going to match dollar for dollar with UConn or St. John's. But clearly something is clicking this season, and he's had a nice run to start this year in a way that I don't think many people saw coming. That building's going to be electric for the Huskies coming in there. I look forward to talking to you about it on Wednesday morning's episode of the Eye on College Basketball Podcast at 8. Let's go with John Shire at Duke. I know Duke is good. Surprise, surprise. Why wouldn't Duke be good? But these things don't run on autopilot. We have, in our adult lives, watched coaches run Kentucky into the ground, run North Carolina into the ground. So I understand that Duke is one of the best jobs and biggest jobs in the sport. But if you aren't competent, you can take it to a bad place. And the truth is, it's hard to recognize many differences between the level of recruiting or winning that Mike Krzyzewski brought to that campus and what John Shire is bringing to that campus. He has taken the reins, as they say, and really not missed a beat. He lost 5 draft picks last season, including 3 lottery picks, and he's still 15-1 to start this season with 7 quadrant 1 wins. That leads the country, and he's on his way to having the best 4-year start to a coaching career in the history of men's college basketball at the Division I level. So any list of Coach of the Year candidates right now, I think John Shire's got to be on there.
So I'm next up at number 9. I agree. He's obviously deserving of top 10. Duke fans will wonder why we don't have him higher, and non-Duke fans are going to wonder why he's on the list to begin with. It's just obviously Duke is Duke, as our colleague Pete Gillen once told Jim Rome many, many moons ago. When I came to number 9 here, a variety of different choices, including the one that you're going to reveal at number 10. But Matt Painter needs to be on this list. And for many reasons, but honestly, one of the biggest reasons is the fact that he's got Braden Smith on the roster and recruited Braden Smith, as he's done with other players too. Painter famously does not give a damn about recruiting rankings. He doesn't care if who he sees and who he likes and projects the fitness system is the number 7 player in the country or the number 607 player in the country. It does not matter to him. He saw Braden Smith, brought him into the program. He's turned into a 4-year player. And in the context of this season, but dating all the way back to when he recruited Braden Smith, he deserves to be on the list. Like, that's really good evaluation, really good coaching. And Braden Smith is pacing towards setting the all-time record for career assists in the men's Division I level of NCAA hoops. Purdue is 15-1. It's only started this strong, 15 out of 16 of its first games being wins, like 4 or 5 times in school history. Has the number 1 offense in college hoops at this point. Highly proficient. Trey Kaufman-Renn, also a top 20 player in the sport. Oscar Clough, semi-quietly, and maybe that changes as, it's just hoops is just more in the culture over the next month, Parrish. But Clough is like a top 10 transfer of value this season. Give Painter and his staff a ton of credit there. So he is a strong candidate at number 9. Again, this speaks to just how many good candidates we have for this award at the halfway point.
I would feel like I was being disrespectful if I didn't wrap up the top 10 with the only other coach who has an undefeated team on January 13th, and that is Travis Steele at Miami, Ohio. 17-0, and I know it's not 17-0 with the best strength of schedule. I know it's not 17-0 with 5 quadrant 1 wins. I know they're only 97th at Ken Pom, but who cares? The year before Travis got the job, Miami, Ohio went 14-18 and finished 266th at Ken Pom. Now, Miami, Ohio is 17-0 in the top 100. The only top 100 team on the schedule is Akron, and they've already played that game. So the toughest game, at least the toughest team on their schedule, is already in their rearview mirror. I don't think they're going to enter the NCAA tournament undefeated. It's possible, but wildly unlikely. I'm not even sure they're going to keep the 0 in the loss column, say, much longer. But we're talking about this on January 13th. And on January 13th, Travis Steele's got a 17-0 team that's in the top 100 at Ken Pom. I like stories like this when people get a second chance at running a program. Obviously, Travis was the head coach at Xavier. That didn't go perfectly, but this is going amazingly well. There's a lot of good stories in the sport, and one of them right now is originating at Miami, Ohio. When we come back, we're going to play the new game that's sweeping the nation. It's called Let's Play. Will they be a top 4 seed in the 2026 NCAA Tournament? Norlander, I'm going to ask you about 5 different teams. You're going to answer whether they'll be a top 4 seed in the NCAA Tournament, and we're going to start with Nebraska. That's next on the Eye on College Basketball Podcast on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast on CBS Sports Network. It's time to play the game that is sweeping the nation. It's the game called, will they be a top 4 seed in the NCAA Tournament? It's sweeping the nation. It's a game that's sweeping the nation, Norlander.
I think it's being introduced to the nation literally right now. So it can't be sweeping just yet. Hopefully by the end of the segment, it'll be sweeping. I'd love to sweep. Let's go.
Okay. Here's the truth. I invented this game last night while watching football. I anticipated sweeping the nation. Let's play it for the first time right now. I know I can plan it. Let's see if we can execute it. Will they be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament? It's the game that's sweeping the nation. Norlander, I'm going to ask you about 5 teams. And the first one is Nebraska. Will Nebraska, undefeated Nebraska, be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament? The Cornhuskers are sitting right now 17th at Ken Pom.
Yeah, they're better than that resume-wise. Nebraska, in my estimation, would be a 2 seed if we stop the season right now and built a tournament. Nebraska will be a top 4 seed. I'll even get more specific for you. My guess is Nebraska will wind up as the last. Cornhuskers, I love you. Okay. You'll be a 3 seed. I think you'll be the last 3 seed. So, yes, they'll be a top 4 seed.
I agree, and that should set Nebraska up to win its first game ever in the NCAA tournament. Next up, Illinois. Will Illinois be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament? They're sitting at 7th at Ken Pom right now.
7. So this is one where the metrics are better than the resume, although the resume is fine. I think Illinois right now would be a 3 seed. Big Ten is going to be a bear, but the talent there is so enticing. Yes, back-to-back Big Ten teams going to be top 4 seeds. Keep in mind, we're not talking about the teams right now at the top of the. We're not talking about Purdue or Michigan or Michigan State. We're talking about some other, other teams that have been at the forefront of that conversation. Yes, I think the Big Ten. So as I talk this out, GP, mark me down for 5 Big Ten teams getting top 4 seeds. But yes, I'll have Illinois in there too.
Next up, Florida. preseason top 5 ranking for the reigning champs, fell out of the top 25 poll as recently as last week, back in it now. Will Florida be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament?
So Gators are not one yet. I'm guessing Florida would probably be, they're either going to be at the back end of the 5 line or the top of the 6 line, I think, right now. This is a good one. This is a good one to bring to the fore because they have losses to quality teams. There's actually a scenario in which Florida can play itself into being the best team in the SEC, and I know Todd Golden and staff believe that they can do that. I will buy into this, yes, and I don't want to be a yes on all these teams, honestly, but I will say narrowly, Florida gets it done and is either the last or the second to last 4 seed on Selection Sunday.
Speaking from experience, best way to keep your mentions clean is just say yes to all these. Just say everybody's going to be great.
Whatever.
Everybody's going to.
I'm not worried about the mentions.
It's all good. Well, you don't have people making graphics of you and your bald head.
Correct.
In your mentions, all right? Okay. You know what a good Photoshop can do with this head? Oh boy. All right.
Unfortunately, I am extremely aware of what a good Photoshop, an all too good Photoshop image is seared in my mind. I believe we're on. This is not a YouTube show. Let's keep it moving and go to the next.
Next up is Louisville. Will Louisville, currently 16th at Ken Palm with a Michael Brown problem, will Louisville be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, we were so worried about a Darren Peterson problem, we didn't stop to consider the Michael Brown Jr. problem, and that went from, okay, the way Pat Kelsey's talking, like maybe he'll be available for the game against Virginia, which is tonight. Nope. Is he going to play the rest of January? How will that affect Louisville's standing? How will it affect its seeding? How will it affect its winning? I am going to, right now, Louisville is not a 4. It's not a 5. It's probably a 6. I'm going to say the Cardinals will not be a top 4 seed, and that will be a disappointment to that fan base going into the season after what Pat Kelsey did in year 1 GP. Cards fans were expecting a 6 or better and hoping for a 4 or better, and now I will be genuinely surprised if Louisville can find itself as a 4 or better on Selection Sunday. My answer is no.
It's been interesting watching college basketball fans who don't follow the NBA closely experience this season, because if you follow the NBA, you've known this has been true for a while. Millionaire basketball players often are in charge of when they play and when they don't. And now that's trickled down to the college basketball. Now we have millionaire college basketball players who seemingly in some cases in charge of when they play and when they don't. And so I look forward to seeing Michael Brown back on the court whenever he returns to the court. Last one, Kansas. Big game tonight. Iowa State inside Allen Fieldhouse. Kansas currently 23rd at Ken Palm. Been a little bit of a roller coaster because they've, from week to week, game to game, never been real sure about when Darren Peterson would be available. And if so, if he'd be available to finish the game. Will Kansas be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, Kansas had never been anything but a top 4 seed until last season when it was a 7. I think it's probably a 7 right now. Peterson can be brilliant when he's on the floor. That injury, you and I would love nothing more for it than to just disappear forever, but there's no telling whether it will or not. The Big 12 is a beast. I'm going to say no. I will say Kansas plays its way to a 5 seed on Selection Sunday, and that's with optimism that Peterson can mostly remain healthy and play a ton over the next 2.5 months. But I got KU on the outside looking. They're definitely on the outside looking in now. Like, they're not knocking on the door top 4 seed status, but I think that their standing actually improves between now and Selection Sunday. And with that, I think part of that is I think KU gets it done tonight against Iowa State.
If Darren Peterson has 0 more soft tissue injuries, I'll give him a good chance to finish with a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. If this is going to consistently be a in the lineup, out of the lineup thing, I mean, Bill Self has already told us on the record, Darren Peterson does not know how to play with his teammates, and his teammates do not know how to play with him. It's not a criticism of anybody. It's just that these people haven't been on a basketball court very much together, certainly relative to other Big 12 quality and elite basketball teams. And so if Peterson can't stay healthy and on the court consistently, like, it's going to be hard for them to get into any kind of of rhythm. And at this point, I think anybody predicting it strongly one way or another is mostly just guessing, because it's been difficult to try to figure out what's going on with his lower body and why these issues keep coming up. Hopefully the worst is behind him, but I think I've said that about 10 times already this season on the Eye on College Basketball podcast. When we come back, we'll wrap this thing up. Let's go on the record. We got 5 undefeated teams right now: Arizona, Iowa State, Vanderbilt, Nebraska, Miami, Ohio. Who's going to be the last undefeated team left in the sport? Also, who's going to be the next one to lose like Michigan did this past weekend? I'm going to get answers on both. It's the Eye on College Basketball podcast. We're on CBS Sports Network. Welcome back to the Eye on College Basketball podcast. A few more minutes to go before we get out of here. Let's go on the record. We got 5 undefeated teams left: Arizona, Iowa State, Vanderbilt, Nebraska, Miami, Ohio. Norlander, who's going to be the last undefeated team in the sport?
Do you know what the percentages say is the most likely team?
I do not. I don't rely on nerdy math. I just go right from my gut.
That's an egregious lie. The most likely team is going to be my pick. That is Arizona. I'm going to see the first Arizona loss in person at the Marriott Center on Monday, January 26th against AJ DeBonsa and BYU, which will bring Arizona to 20-0 the day of that game and 20-1 once it's over.
You ain't going to believe what I'm about to do. It's like I'm just walking into it. I mean, just walking right into it. Same thing I did with Bennett Sturts and Braden Smith.
Don't tell me you're about to say Iowa State.
I'm going to go with Iowa State to be the last undefeated team in men's college basketball, while being well aware that they're going to Allen Fieldhouse later tonight and will lose that game. I know how this stuff works when it comes out of my mouth. But I really do think Iowa State, the schedule sets up for it if you can get past this one. And it's kind of crazy to say if you could just get past Allen Fieldhouse, should be fine, because historically nobody gets past Allen Fieldhouse. But the next 9 games for Iowa State are against unranked opponents. They could reasonably be 26-0 heading to BYU on February 21st. I would have them losing there if they're undefeated, but that would make them the last team to lose. All right. Next undefeated team to lose. We had 6 undefeateds on Saturday morning. Michigan took a loss this weekend, so now we got 5. Who's going to be the next to come off of this list?
Yeah, we got a tight clock here, so I'm going to make this fast. I'm giving you the reverse. So Arizona is going to be the last one. The penultimate one will be Nebraska. Next Saturday at Minnesota will be the second to last team to lose. Miami, Ohio will be the middle team. Next Tuesday at Kent State, it'll take its first loss. Vanderbilt will take a loss tomorrow night, Wednesday at Texas. And even if it doesn't, probably against Florida after that, although that is a home game. So I am taking Iowa State tonight, Tuesday, January 13th, to take its first loss against Kansas. If it doesn't, just so you know, GP, 4 of ISU's next 6 games are on the road in league play. So, yes, I think you walked right into that one. But ISU is my pick for the first undefeated to lose here, and then Arizona on the back end.
But the next 9 games are against unranked opponents.
I mean, okay. I mean, you're the building truster, so you do what you got to do.
I don't feel great about it. I understand what's going on. I'm saying Iowa State's going to be the last team to lose this season, and you're saying they're going to lose in a few hours.
Yes.
One of us will be right. We'll talk about it on Wednesday morning. The next undefeated team I've got losing, Miami, Ohio. I take no joy in saying that. But next Tuesday, they are at Kent State, and that should be a game in which they are favored, but by a small margin. I'll have Miami, Ohio getting caught on the road next Tuesday at Kent State. After that game, they'll be 19-1. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Terry Teagle, legend, Huck Larnell. Thank you guys for watching the Eye on College Basketball podcast on CBS Sports Network. Join us on YouTube for a new episode tomorrow morning.